Okay, Be'ezat Hashem, with Hashem's help, we're going to learn today some more, continuing in our halachot of Kriat Shema. We're following the Tzurba MRABANAN Sefer, and we're going in order of the halachot the way they list them here. So today we're starting on page 231 in the Tzurba MRABANAN. And we're coming to a halakha that's brought down in the Gemara in Masechet Bava Kama. That's where the origin of the halakha is. And the halakha is that brought down that Ezra HaSofer, great Ezra the scribe, he enacted that people who are Baal Keri, people who have a seminal emission, who were with their wives, they're not allowed to learn Torah until he went to a mikvah. The Mishnah in Berachot, as we're now on page 231, source number 26, it says over here, the Mishnah in Berachot on Daf Chav, it says, Baal Keri meharher belibo ve'enu mevarech lo l'fanei v'lo la'acharei. Ezra Sofer enacted that somebody who was with his wife, someone who has seminal mission, he cannot say the berachot for Kriat Shema. He can only think the words of Shema itself, not even think the words of the bracha of Shema. He can only think the words of the actual Shema. Rabbi Yehuda said, though, Mevarach l'fanei v'la'acharei. Yehuda said, no, he does everything regular. Just because he's a Baal Keri doesn't mean he doesn't say the berachot, he doesn't say the Shema, he doesn't do these things. Now, when the Mishnah said ve'eno mevarech, Rashi explains afilu behirhur. That means the person who's a Baal Keri, according to Ezra Sofer, according to Tikana, the enactment that Ezra Sofer put in place, the person could not even think about the berachot of Kriyat Shema. Not before, not after, the bracha before, the Ahavat Olam, Yotzer Or, and not the brachot afterward, Ga'al Yisrael. He cannot think them. Kiven de brachot lav medoraita mehayav lo itzerchu MRABANAN. Since the brachot of Shema, the blessings for Shema are rabbinical, not biblical, therefore he doesn't have to contemplate them according to the way we're bringing down right now. On page 232, Tosefot, in source 28, he says the same thing. Mishum de Kriat Shema deoraita ubrachot de Rabbanan. Because Kriyat Shema is deoraita, so Ezra Sofer said, at least you have to think about it. And you have to at least think about it. But when it comes to the berachot, since you're a Baal Keri, you cannot think about those berachot at all. Now, what was the whole takana? I forgot to mention. Why did Ezra Sofer institute this in the first place? Why did he say someone who's a Baal Keri, someone with his wife, he cannot learn any Torah until he goes to a mikvah? And the reason is, in order that the Talmidei Chachamim, he didn't want rabbinical scholars to be all day found next to their wives. They have to take the Torah's learning serious and be very much delving into it. And as such, we wanted to make sure that they were more focused on the learnings. And so they would have a set time to be with their wife and not any time as such. Therefore, they would be focusing on their learning. Now, the Gemara Masechet Berachot on Daf Chav Beit Amud Aleph brings down an opinion. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Nahog Alma Rabbi Yehuda ben Betira. The world practices not like Ezra Sofer, but Rabbi Yehuda ben Betira, B'divrei Torah. The Tanya, Rabbi Yehuda ben Betira Omar, and Divrei Torah Mekabelin Tuma. He said it's impossible for words of Torah, because the words of Torah, they Divrei Ke'esh, they're like fire. And Ma Esh enu Mekabel Tuma, just as fire cannot Mekabel Tuma, af Divrei Torah enu Mekabelin Tuma. So too, Divrei Torah cannot be Mekabel Tuma. Fire can't accept impurity. Torah can't get impurity. And therefore, a person should say everything. And when Zairi came from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, he also said B'tula l'tbulta. Some said he said that the Netilah was Batel, but the one who said the Bitul, the Tevilah, Rabbi Yehuda ben Betira. So already the Gemara told us that during the Talmudical times, there were many people who did not practice like the takana of Ezra HaSofer, that after you were with your wife, you had a seminal mission, you had to go to the mikvah. The Rambam, in codifying the halacha, the Rambam says, all people who are impure, they always have to read Shema. They always have to say everything, all the brachot, everything, even though they're tumah. Even if that's the day that they're going to the mikvah, and they can go to the mikvah and then say it. No, they can still say everything even when they're tumah. Then he says over here, that Ezra Sofer took out of all the categories of tumah, he took out the bal keri, the person who was with his wife, with seminal mission. But he says, and Ezra made this takana that they should not be able to learn Torah until they go to mikvah. However, most people could not follow this takana, cannot follow this enactment that Ezra Sofer put into place, and as such, the takana was batel. It got what's it called, canceled. Okay, because most people couldn't hold by that takana. It was too hard people to go to be mikvah every time they were with their wives, and so this takana that in order to learn Torah you have to go to mikvah for a man was mivatel. Therefore, it was gone. Now he says, the words of Torah, they always stay tahor. They never get tamei. So therefore, a person, even though he's a bal keri, he can learn Torah, he can say Shema, he can say the brachot before it, he can say the brachot after it. And the Shulchan Aruch takes the Rambam's ruling, and he also brings it down as such. We're now in source 31 on page 233, and the Shulchan Aruch says, Kol hatim'in, all the people are impure, korim b'Torah, korim Kriat Shema, mitpalalim, they read Kriat Shema, they pray. Chutz b'bal keri. However, the bal keri, he doesn't. Shehotziu Ezra took him out. Mikol hatim'im, v'asur ben b'divei Torah, ben b'Kriyat Shema, tila ad sheitvo. And he didn't let him daven, didn't let him read Torah, didn't let him pray, say Kriyat Shema until he goes to the mikvah. Kadesh lo yetzem chachamim mitzuyin etzel nishatehen ketargon. They shouldn't be like roosters next to the chickens that all the time they're busy with their wives. And then the Shulchan Aruch says, like we learned, afterwards they got rid of the enactment and they reestablished the law as is the main law. Even someone has some mission is allowed to learn Torah, and even if he didn't do the 9 kabin, the 9 calves of water. So this is a way of, if a person couldn't go to mikvah, there's another thing that he can do instead of going to the mikvah after having a bal keri, after being a bal keri. He can use 9 kavim of water to wash himself. This is about 12.5 liters in the note 21 on the bottom of page 233. 12.5 liters according to Chaim Noeh, and according to the Chazon Ish, it's around 22 liters. This can really happen very quick if a person jumps into the shower for a few minutes. He stays in the shower under the water, and as such, he fulfills the 9 kavin, the tisha kavin, and that's like he went to the mikvah for this case of bal keri, for in order to be able to learn Torah and say Shema and pray in tahara. However, even this is not needed. If a person wanted to do that, it's very good, but even that is not needed la halacha. The Mishnah Berurah brings down, Mikol Malkum, Yesh Anshe Maaseh Shenahagim B'Takana Zo B'Tovolin Et Atzman B'Kriyin V'Im Kashel Nehem Etvala Rochetzin Et Atzman B'Tet Kavin. The Mishnah Berurah says, yes, that's the halacha. However, there are certain men of piety, certain religious men who try to do more, who try to do the takana of Ezra Sofer, and they try to go to the mikvah. You have the Hasidim, they go to mikvah every morning. A lot of Hasidim go to mikvah every morning. A lot of Hasidic tales about them going to the mikvah even in the freezing cold. There's an Indian to go to the mikvah every morning, and they do that. So especially someone who's with his wife, they would make sure to go to the mikvah. And if not mikvah, at least to take a shower and have 9 kavin, about 12.5 to 22 liters of water, come down on the person. Okay, the Piskei Tshuvot the Piskei Teshuvot says something very interesting. In Piskei Teshuvot says, although many Rishonim hold that Ezra's Takana was canceled, however, there are those who hold that they were never abolished. Page 234. That there were hold that said that no. Some say, some poskim held, some Rishonim held that Ezra's Takana exists even till today. And even though the Shulchan Aruch and the Torah, the mainstream halakha like we follow, says you don't have to, still a person should be careful. Then he says that today, since we have hot mikvot, we have hot mikvahs, and there are mikvot available everywhere. It's very easy to find what's it called mikvahs today. You know, you have the app, you can take out the app, you can find the mikvah. And anywhere you go, you can find one. And as such, he holds that it's possible that it should be still obligated. And anyone who has the scent of Torah should be careful about this immersion. Anybody who has considered himself somewhat of a Talmud Chacham should be careful about this. And at the minimum, he should do the 9 kavin. But the best would be to go to the mikvah. In the Pinine Halacha, he also writes, that today is still there's no halacha you have to go to the mikvah, but since today everybody has a shower at home, he writes it's good to be careful about this. I mean, you already have the shower, and we have the 9 kavin law, so it's easy to make the 9 kavin. You just jump into the shower. So before a person prays, you should go into the shower for I don't know, how long does it take for 12.5 liters to fall on you from the shower? I don't know. You have to ask someone who does the calculation, but I don't think it should take more than. I mean, someone can correct me on Zoom if you guys know how long around how much it takes 12.5 liters to fall on a person in the shower. You tell me it depends on the shower head, the pressure, and whatnot. You can make the mathematics. I don't think it's more than 7-8 minutes. The person's in the shower. I think it definitely has more than 12.5 liters already falling on him. And so if a person can do that after he was with his wife, after he experienced the 7-hour mission, totally would be better for him. And that concludes that part of the dinim of Baal Keri. I just want to supplement it with the Yalkut Yosef. And Yalkut Yosef says pretty much the same thing, that today people who are on Shema said, the people who act, people who do more, they should go to the mikvah, and they should at least go into the shower before. He holds that it's 12 liters, 12 liters of gram and 600 grams. So 12 liters, so 12.5 liters, and a little more than 12.5 liters, almost 6 liters. And he says this is it. And if he does the 9 kavin, that's very good, even if it's in the shower. And that's the way people should be noheg, if possible. If it wasn't possible, for example, some people, Shabbat morning, it's very hard for them to go into a cold shower. So obviously, so you can't do a hot shower. So obviously, if you go to a warm mikvah, you can do that. That's 100% true. You can go to a warm mikvah. And if you didn't want to go to the warm mikvah and you can't go to a hot shower, so then you can daven and do everything regularly until after Shabbat, because the halacha is that you could do these things. Now, I just want to supplement about ladies. Nashim b'mei nidatan, lady who's in the days of nida, right? So in their menstrual cycle, they're having the blood. Still, hayavot l'hitpalel. They have to pray. They have to bless, make all the berachot. They have to learn Torah, and they cannot stand back from anything and say, "Oh, I'm impure and I can't do these things." That's not true, because divrei kedusha do not accept tuma. There's no kedusha. Words of Torah do not get tuma, and as such, they are chayav in everything. Okay, that's an halachot of Baal Keri. Let's move on to the halachot now of the latest times to read Kriat Shema. We're on page 243 in the Tzurba. If you don't have the sefer online, if you don't have the sefer, the Tzurba MRABANAN, and you want to get it, just let me know. I can give you the website. It costs about $15 to get the book. This is volume 10. The volume is, we have about another 3 to 4 shiurim in this book. And then volume 11, they're continuously printing them out. So we'll finish it. We'll get the new volume. And if you want to be part of our main order that we do, it can be, if you get 10 books, it's $10 a piece. So we can get that. Last time we got like 6, 7 books, whatever it was, 5 books. So it's $15 a piece. So if you want to get to it later, let me know. We can all order. We can get $10 a piece. Much easier. Okay. The earliest time to pray Shema. So we already learned in previous Shiurim that you have to pray Shema once in the morning, and we have to pray Shema once in the evening. As it says in the Pasuk, when you lay down and when you get up. So the question is there a time frame? What is the time frame? When can you start? When do you end? So the Gemara Masechet Berachot asks this question. The Mishnah says on page 243, when can you start praying the morning Shema? So the question now is the earliest time of Shema. When is the earliest time of Shema? The Gemara says, Mishiakir, from when you can recognize, Ben Techelet Lilavan, when you can see between blue and white. We're going to see this means when they had the tzitzit strings, and you can differentiate between white and blue with the sunlight that just came out. With that, enough light to see between white and blue, that's the time you can say Kriat Shema. Rabbi Eliezer says, between blue and green. So it's a little harder because blue and green is a little more similar in color. So you need a little more light to differentiate between the two. The Gemara in Yerushalmi, the Yerushalmi Gemara says that, and those who say that Mishiakir is defined as recognizing an acquaintance at a distance of 4 cubits. So in order to recognize your friend from 4 amot away, agrees with the one who says as it's differentiating between white and blue. So it's the same differentiation. Seeing my friend from 4 amot away and recognizing who he is, as well as telling him between white and blue, that's the same differentiation. Now, the Gemara in 244. The Gemara says, "My ben techelet lelavan." What does it mean, white and blue? I recognize white and blue. Ilema ben gavava da'amra hivara legava da'amra detichalta. Are you telling me between a pile of white and a pile of blue wool? I can even tell it in the night. I can notice at nighttime. A big pile, you can recognize the color. Rather, we're talking about strings like the tzitzit strings, that they're just strands, and it's harder to tell between one strand and the other strand. Rabbi Meir says that the time is between, you can tell the difference between a wolf and a dog. Rabbi Akiva says between a donkey and a wild donkey. And the Acherim and the other rabbis say, when you can see a distance, you see your friend and recognize him for a distance of 4 cubits away. And we already know that means the same time he's telling between white and blue. And Rav Huna says the halacha is like the Acherim. The halacha is like the Acherim, that when you can see between white and blue, when you can see your friend from a distance of 4 amot away with the natural sunlight out in the sky, that is the time. That's called Mishiakir, from when you can recognize. Now, Abaye said, regarding the time from which you can put on tefillin, that's like what we're saying of Mishiakir. The earliest time for talit and tefillin. So on the calendar, the Zmanim calendar, it says the earliest time for talit and tefillin. That's the time known as Mishiakir, when you could recognize one from another. And that's what they said. They said Allah is regarding to that. However, for Shema, he says Shema is at Batikin. That is, they would finish Shema at sunrise and then right away start Shmona Esrei. The Vatikinim in the Neitz Minyan, where they start Shema a few minutes before sunrise and then they go straight into Shmona Esrei. He says that's the time to say Shema. And there was taught in the Braita, the Vatikin will conclude the Shema with sunrise in order to put the Geula, the bracha of Geula, Ga'al Yisrael, and starting Shemona Esrei together, they would say Shema right before. And now the question is, what does Abaye mean? Does Abaye mean that, if you see top of box 245, on page 245, that Abaye can be understood in 2 ways. Simple understanding is that Abaye disagrees with Rav Huna, and he holds, Rav Huna held the earliest time is when you can tell between white and blue. And he's arguing and saying the earliest time is right before sunrise. Second understanding is that Abaye does not disagree with Rav Huna. He holds the earliest time is also from white and blue. However, the ideal time is right before Shemona Esrei, before Netz. So which way do you go? Do we say Abaye is arguing on Rav Huna, or we're saying Abaye is just adding when is the most ideal time? So the Rambam, when he codifies the halacha, he says, the Ezehu Zamanim Bayom, what's the time for the Shema in the morning? She'etchil likot Kriat kodem netzach hama, kidei she'igmor lekrot v'levarech bracha achrona im netzach hama. In order you start Shema right before netzach hama, right before sunrise, and conclude it with sunrise. According to the Rambam, the Abaye is arguing on Rav Huna, and he says you have to say Shema right before Netz, and that's the only time for Shema, according to the Rambam. It has to be done at that time. That's the Chatchila time. That's the best time, according to him. Now, Talmidei Rabbeinu Yonah and the Rashba all understand Abaye in the second way, that he's not arguing on Rav Huna, that he holds that you could say Shema already from Mishiakir, from when you can tell the difference in white and blue, or you can see your friend from 4 amot away and recognize who he is. But the ideal time to say Shema is at right before sunrise. That's the way to me the Rabbeinu Yonah, the Rosh and Rashba all understand the Gemara. So
all this, can we make it easier on us, because all the slides we can recognize?
Right. So we have a calendar that we follow now.
Column.
Yeah, we have a Zmanim calendar. Now, my only thing about the Zmanim calendar, most people don't know, is that the Zmanim calendar that you see around are mostly following Ashkenazic times. Now, sunrise and sunset is the same for everyone. Sunrise and sunset, that's sunrise and sunset. However, what do you consider halachic dawn? When is dawn? When is dusk? When is Tzeta Kochavim? Those really, there are a lot of arguments of when that applies, and according to who do you follow. So I like to always follow the Alkut Yosef. It makes it a lot easier on life, and you have a lot to rely on. So you really have to know how to calculate things, and that we're going to try to get into that later. So you have to have a calendar that you follow. I mean, today no one goes outside and says, "Let me see if I can see between white and blue." Let me see if I can see my friend. As you said, you have street lights, you have all these other things, but those time frames are still the same. So therefore, we have an established timing of when it is. So how many minutes before sunrise is Mishiakir that you can recognize? How many minutes before sunrise is dawn? And that's how they figured it out. It's based on latitude, longitude, altitude, and all these different things they take into effect. The sunrise is 16.5 degrees. The sun is angled over the earth. They do all these other things that you can take a look at. There's a nice, if you have an Android or a tablet or something like that, that you can, or a Google Play, if you can get the app called Maizmanim, I believe it's Maizmanim. In there, if you click on like dawn, right, or dusk, you click on it, he'll give you like 10 different opinions. Which one do you hold on? And each one has a different timing, depending on what you hold, which opinion is yours. So yeah, you have to know. You have to look at it. Most people don't know that most of the calendars that they have, mine calendars, are based on Ashkenazic times. Again, sunrise, sunset is always the same. Okay, so what does the Shulchan Aruch do? So you have the Rambam that said you have to read right before Netz, and you had the Rosh and the Rabbeinu Yonah and the Rashba, who all held that it's ideal to do it for Netz Chama, but you can do it for Mishiakir. So let's take a look at the Shulchan Aruch on page 246 and source 6. It says, "Man krich mash shacharit, mi sheret et chaviro haragil imo ketzat berachok dal damot." You see someone who you know a little bit. You see him from 4 amot away. Welcome, Rabbi Abner. Your lights are working at home? Everything good? Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. Came back an hour later. Yeah. And you recognize him. That's already the time that you can say Kriat Shema. So Shulchan Aruch holds that Abaye is not arguing in Rav Huna. He says you could start saying Kriat Shema from when it's already Mishiakir, when you can recognize someone outside from 4 amot away. Shulchan Aruch does say, though, but the best time to read Kriat Shema is to read it Vatikin, right before Netzach Hama. that is the best time to say Kriat Shema. And this way, he's Saymech Gul et Tefillah, B'netzach Hama, and he says, Umishiacho, the Kaven Asot Ken, whoever plans to do this and does this, Scharo Meruba Me'od. He gets way much schar, way much reward. So praying nets is a very special thing. Even bring down the person who prays nets that day and does Shema before nets and then prays nets Shemona Esrei, he can't get hurt that day. It's like a day that he's so you ever need a date to have like a guarantee nothing happens to you, everything goes good, you might want to think of praying nets.
To be chassid before nets, we pray.
Yeah, okay. Now in source 7, the Tzurba MRABANAN brings down on page 246. He brings down what it means to put the mitzvah of Shemona Esrei next to the Shema. Ki ikar mitzvah tefillah hu me'et tchilat hanetz. Since the beginning of Shemona Esrei, you're really supposed to pray Shemona Esrei from nets. That's the earliest you can pray Shemona Esrei, the best, like chatchila, in the first ab initio, in the first order. You want to pray from then. And therefore, that's what needs to be done. And since Shemona Esrei is at nets, therefore you want to put Shema right before it. It's not that you can't say Shema earlier. Mishnah Berurah wants to say you could say Shema earlier. But the reason why they waited till right before nets is in order to put Shema with Shemona Esrei. And therefore, they would rather wait. So these guys woke up around 4 o'clock in the morning. It's very dark outside. Then it starts to get a little bit light. They could say Shema already. It's legally permissible to say Shema already. It's legally permissible. You can say Shema, but I'd rather not say Shema until right before Netzach Hama. Therefore, I can mix Shema with straight into Shemona Esrei, and that's a very, very big skula, and that's the way they would do it. This way, that would be the best time for them to say it. Yeah, right away. So you finish Gal Yisrael and you start Shemona Esrei.
So this is around what time?
So today, do you want to bring this mom calendar? We can take a look at the time. We're gonna actually need that because we're gonna make some calculations soon. So get your
7:20.
Okay, 7:20. You
Right.
said it's 7:20 was today. We have on the calendar that?
No.
It's sunrise. That's when the sun comes out. That's when sunrise. Sunrise means you have sun. It's sun already there. So today, right? He said it was 7:20. Today's what? Today is what day? Today January 2nd, right? Yeah, 7:19, 7:20. Okay. So today you would to pray nets, which is today. If you wanted to pray nets nowadays, it's very easy. You don't have to wake up 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning.
What time is it?
7:20. 7:20 is next. So if you live in places like in Brooklyn or other places where you have a lot of minyanim, it's easy to get a minyan. In Regal Park, you have over there on 108th, you have the Beit Gavril, they have the Nitz Minyan. You have in our area. I don't think we have a Nitz Minyan right here in this area, or maybe our good to have. I'm not sure. But
also in the Georgian shul there is.
And on 63rd for the Georgian shul.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I have a question, Rabbi. I have a question. Kriat Shema is done right before sunrise, right?
The ideal time for Kriat Shema is right before sunrise, right? Especially if
My question is, aren't most mitzvot? Don't most mitzvot start at sunrise?
You mean daytime mitzvot?
For example, lulav, shofar,
right.
Like
So yes. So daytime mitzvot start from sunrise, but let's say someone couldn't do it at sunrise. Is it possible to say that dawn, alot hashachar, is already considered morning? So sometimes we would say that already dawn is considered already morning. And if a person had no choice, he's already allowed to start certain mitzvot from dawn. Dawn is alot hashachar. It's already when the first rays of sun are on the horizon. The Yalkut Yosef Madi would paskin that dawn is 72 minutes before sunrise. Okay, for Sfaradim, 72 minutes before sunrise.
7:20 minus 72.
Yeah, so go back 72 minutes. So that would be what? 7:20, and go back 72 minutes. So go back an hour, and then you go 12 minutes back. What would it be?
6:10, 6:05.
6:07. No, what? So 12 minutes, 6:07.
Yeah.
6:08. Okay. Now, if I take a look here, in this alot, here they go by 72 minutes. So 719, they put 72 minutes is 606. Okay. If you went by the 16.1 degrees of the angle of the sun, it would be 551. That's why I said you have to look, you have to know your calendar. You have to know what you hold, what we hold. So here you have to, when you look at the Zmanim calendar, you have to see 72 minutes. That's what we hold is alot. Yeah. And that would pertain to certain halachot you can do b'di'avad. Amen. B'di'avad, when cases require, you can do it a little earlier. So very good question. Also, we're going to get into that a little more. On page 247, source 8, if a person didn't read it before Netzachama, he should read it as early as he can. Meaning, I woke up after sunrise. I didn't get a chance till after sunrise to read Kriat Shema. The earlier, the better. Don't postpone it to the last moment. And don't wait to the last minute to get to Shema. The Mishnah Berurah says, lahakdim, you want to make it earlier. The zrim makdim l'mitzvot, because it's always good to perform mitzvah early. But a person should not pray in private or recite it without tefillin. Meaning, if you know you're going to go to shul and you're going to pray, and it's in the zman, it's in the correct time of Kriyat Shema, don't say Shema early, or don't say without tefillin if you know you're going to pray on time. If you know you're not going to pray on time, or you may not pray on time, then you do want to say it. You want to say it, and then you can say, oh, if I'm going to pray on time, then this should be considered just reading Torah, and then my mitzvah will be with my tefillin. If I don't pray on time, or I don't say it later on time, then what I'm saying now should be counted as saying Kriyat Shema. Person can do that also. Now, I'm just going to say with the Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah, who's the Mishnah Berurah? It's the Hafez Chaim, right? Hafez Chaim wrote as follows. Mikan tochachat negulat livnei Ashkenaz. He says this is a big rebuke to a lot of the Ashkenazic shuls, right? Shema harim me'od Kriyat Shema, because they read Kriyat Shema too late. A lot of the shuls, the Mishnah Berurah says it himself right here. He says a lot of Ashkenaz shuls, they start too late, and they're going to pray Shema late, and that's not good. And he says that the whole point, Hashem created the world that people should accept him as king. And saying Shema is accepting Hashem as king. And so it has to happen as early as possible. So he complains that people are taking a very long time to get to Shema. So we're doing, he seems to be liking that. Oh. The Tzurba MRABANAN editors of the English edition, on the bottom, try to milamed zchut to the Ashkenazim. What they do, they try to give them some merit. And they say that today, most times, you even the late minyans can still get the Sof Zman Kriyat Shema, and right before the end, they can still get into it. So it's best to plan it that way. So most shuls in our areas follow to make sure they pray at the right times. Again, if you're in Brooklyn, make sure you don't pray in certain synagogues, especially Hasidic shtivos. They pray like 11 o'clock. Already, it's very late to get into a lot more problematic issues. We have to know if you're allowed to even say the berachot of Kriyat Shema anymore after the 4th hour. You're not allowed to even say the berachot of Kriyat Shema after the 4th hour into the day. No, they say so before. They have their they wake up 4:30 at morning. What I say, I guess, when you become Hasidic, you can do whatever you want. You do what they do. And then they pray late. Then they pray. Yeah. That's the problem. Okay. Now, Mishayakir. So we brought down right now, just to review, we brought the earliest time to pray is from when you can tell the difference. What's known as Mishayakir. That's the earliest time when you can recognize in white and blue, and if you look at the Zmanim calendars, they usually write it as earliest talis and tefillin, Zman tzitzit v'tefillin, and they're using it based on 10.2 ma'alot, and they bring down the timing over here. So that might be up to different opinions as well. You have to know what we follow. But so Mishayakir today, which would be the earliest time to put on tefillin, earliest time to say Shema, today was, according to this calendar, 6:25. It was 6:25. So this is about 19-20 minutes after dawn, after alot.
So this is acceptable for Sfaradim?
Yeah. So if we had to say Shema, we already can say Shema at this time. So let's see over here. Let's see if we had to. If we had to, yes. Like we do, like here a lot of times, and sometimes we pray before nets, right? Shemona Esrei. We have no choice. You have to pray. Once it's alot already, and you have to pray, you have to go to work. People can't stick around. I even have a person who came to me 2 weeks ago. He said, I don't know what to do. I can't put on tefillin too late, and I have to be at work so early. What should I do? So I told him what to do, because I had these issues also when I was studying in university and working and stuff like that, and how to go about it. So let's see what it says here. According to what we've seen so far, the earliest time is from Mishiyakir. Nevertheless, Rabbeinu Yonah and other Rishonim hold, when necessary, one may recite it even earlier. So as long as it's after Alot HaShachar. The Rabbeinu Yonah says, one should not read it before, but in the case of need, where one reads it after dawn, it's okay. That once Alot HaShachar, which was today, 6:06, the person needs to say Shema early. Already 6:06, he can already say Shema. He can already do Shema. Yeah, that's why right now in the winter time. Yeah, right now is winter time is very hot. I know that people tell me that we work at 6 o'clock. So what they need to do, what I did when I had this issue, I took my tefillin along with me, and I would try to find a room or something. If I had my car, I would go to my car, whatever it is, and I would try to. I would pray some parts before, and then from Baruch Hu, from that place, from Baruch until Shemona Esrei, I would do with my tefillin 5-10 minutes, whatever it is, and then get back to work and then try to finish up the prayer later. Again, at this time, it's difficult. It's very, especially in the winter at this time. But in the summer, it's no problem because the sun's already up since 4 o'clock. You already have no issues there. Okay, the Shulchan Aruch says someone who's an honest, he has to go somewhere far, and he doesn't have time. What's he going to do? He's already allowed to say Shema from the Alot HaShachar, from 72 minutes before sunrise. It's already considered the time to get up. And it's also called the time when Hashem creates light. The Mishnah Berurah on page 250, he says over here, what's considering an onus, a circumstance that is that requires you to pray earlier. If there's a burial in the city, or a circumcision that day, or Toshana Rabbah, or it's something like that, that's a very long prayer, and people don't have the time, they're allowed to pray after Alot HaShachar. If someone has to travel, he says the same thing. Someone has to travel, or anything similar to this. So if someone has to go to work, he has to do what he has to do. He has to pray beforehand. Rav Mordechai Eliyahu held the same thing. The earliest time for Kriat Shema is from Alot HaShachar. And the best time is right before. So what do we have now? So we have halachically from Mishiyakir, from the time you can recognize somebody, that's the time you can start saying Shema. Ideally, the best time is right before sunrise, and put Shema straight with Shemona Esrei.
Yeah.
And the earliest time, the Avad, is already from dawn. So it's very interesting that the case
Tomorrow.
that's today's case. It's today. They bring today's case over here. They bring the earliest Taz until 6:25, sunrise is 7:20, and dawn they wrote at 5:52 using 16.1 degrees. But for us it would be 6:06.
Tomorrow.
They're using January because you know what? I'm following their schedule. So this is what they plan to learn this week. That's right. So on Tzurba MRABANAN, page 251, they're dealing with January 3rd, and they're showing the time for New York, and they're showing the time for Antwerp. So what do we see? So for us, the best time to say Shema would be right before 7:20 if you're praying nets. You can already say Shema already from 6:25. However, if you needed, we would be able to say Shema according to the Alkut Yosef already from 6:06. And that would be the time a person can start saying Shema. The latest time to recite Shema. What is the latest time to recite Shema? Page 252. Okay. The Mishnah Berachot says you should try to finish it. One must finish reciting by sunrise. That's one opinion. Maybe Shema Omer until 3 hours into the day. Shekain derech melachim la'amod b'shlosh ha'od, because kings get up by the third hour.
Okay.
They sleep in. Kings can sleep in.
So
We
kings, but what
we
about-
workers have to get up.
Yeah.
So it's considered still waking up time 3 hours into the day. 3 hours into the day is still considered waking up time.
So по-человечески.
So 3 hours since 7:20 or 6:06.
Would it be okay? That's very good. So exactly what does it mean 3 hours? First of all, that's all we're gonna get into in a minute.
Okay.
Now that's when you need your pen and paper. We're gonna do some calculations. However, but just let's see what's the halacha actually. We just brought down the Mishnah. The Rambam held. The mitzvah is that once you start to read before sunrise, person who delays and reads Shema after sunrise fulfills his obligation. And he held it like a bidi avad. If you're doing it after sunrise, the Rambam held it's already second degree, okay, second class,
But it's
consent.
okay.
It's okay. That's the way Rambam. Okay, but Shulchan Aruch says no. The halacha is it goes up to 3 hours into the day. It goes up to the fourth of the day, which is 3 hours into the day. That is the halacha. So the halacha is 3 hours into the day. You can still say Shema. Yes, we go by the Shulchan Aruch. Now the question is,
What we should do with Rambam?
how do you calculate? So we don't follow the Rambam on this. We don't follow the Rambam on this. But if a person could follow the Rambam on this, you should. So according to the Rambam, if you pay attention to the Rambam's lashon, the Rambam says the time to say Shema is right before Netz,
Okay.
and it ends at Netz. So according to the Rambam, real time for Shema is at Netz, right before Netz. And that's the only really time. Already before, already after, it's not the same, according to the Rambam. We don't pass like the Rambam. We say you can start from Mishiyakir, and you should go up to 3 hours into the day. If needed, you can already start from Avot. Now the question is, how do you calculate 3 hours into the day?
Oh, now we're talking.
What is hours? Now there are some who want to hold. Some want to hold that hours is hours, 60 minutes, 60 minutes, 60 minutes. Some want to say, and I'll bring a proof. He says, because kings, they're not going to start calculating the day like the Jews do. What do we do? L'halacha, what do? We take the daylight hours of the day and we divide it in 12. So it's called sha'ot zmaniyot, seasonal hours. Okay, so for example, let's say the day started at 6 and ended at 5. How many hours is that? 11 hours. So now, how do you calculate the time in each hour? You do 11 hours divided into 12, okay? And then that number is multiplied by 60, and that will give you how many is in each hour. It should be about 55 minutes, right? 55 minutes, and it should get you to the, that's how many hours, that's how many minutes are in an hour according to the Jewish hour, according to the calendar hour. Okay?
So 3 hours.
So let's just do the math.
45.
You have a calculator? Take the calculator out. So I have from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m.
11 hours.
11 hours. Divide that by 12. What do you get? Okay, times it by 60.
60.6.
660. Okay, so it's 55. It's 55 minutes per hour.
Yes.
That's considered an hour.
Yes.
Okay, so according to that, if today I have 3 hours into the day, if today was 6 to 5, it's not. But if it was, so then I would do 55 times 3, which would be 165 minutes. So to have
45.
2 hours and 45 minutes in. So whatever, so 6, so add 2:45, you'll get to 8:45, right? That would be the time to the end of Kriat Shema.
Oh, not the 9:05, not now.
Okay, now that's very simple because I just gave you times. I just gave you time. I gave you the principle of how to do it. However, there's a huge machloket and how you calculate the time. That's why you'll see on the Kriat Shema calendars, there's the big number and then there's a small number where we have the Magen Avraham and the Gra of how to calculate the time. Because the question is, do you calculate dawn to dusk? Do you calculate from dawn to dusk, from Alot HaShahar until Tzit HaKochavim? Or do you calculate from sunrise to sunset? Okay. The Magen Avraham says we go from dawn to dusk, from Alot Shachar to Tzit Kochavim. Whereas the Gra held, he says no such thing, and he has a bunch of proofs why this is. He says because you're supposed to have 12 hours on a good day, on a median day, you're supposed to have 12 hours. And according to the Magen Avram, dawn to dusk, on a good spring day, according to dawn to dusk, you're going to get 18 hours, not 12 hours. So the Gra's not happy with the Magen Avram's position, and he holds it's sunrise to sunset, which would make things a lot easier because sunrise to sunset, there's no machloket when it is. Sunrise is sunrise, sunset is sunset. You can even take out any newspaper, any calendar, anything like that. They always have sunrise, sunset, and it's all set. You can figure it out. But the Magen Abraham's position gets hard because, remember I told you, everyone has a different opinion of what dawn is, and everyone else has a different opinion of what dusk is, or what Tzit Kochavim is. Okay? That's where the tricky part comes in. According to us Svaradim, most of us hold, like a Chamuvadia, which was that it's already considered Tzit Kochavim 13.5 seasonal minutes after sunset. 13.5 seasonal minutes, so Sha'ad Zmaniyot minutes after sunset, which is usually around 20 to 24 minutes after sunset. That's considered the time that it's actually nightfall. It might even be still light outside, but that's already considered nightfall. According to the Hasidim, according to Rabbeinu Tam, it's not considered nightfall until 72 minutes after Shkia. About 20 minutes. And there's 72 minutes. So that's why you'll see on the calendars, they'll say their fast. Ashkenazim say the fast comes out 5:20, 5:30. And our fast was over like 4:45. Because how do you calculate dawn to dusk? What's dusk? What's set? What's what? It all depends on how you do the calculation. Okay, so that's why there'll be different opinions. So now, let's do one calculation based on the position of the Yalkut Yosef for the Magen Abraham's position for sunrise to sunset. So you want to use today's times? Yeah, it's going to be a little difficult. Okay, a little difficult, but we'll get through it. So today's time was sunrise. We said was 6:06. Okay, so 6:06 is sunrise.
Sunrise, that's 6:06. This is next sunrise.
No, not sunrise. I mean alot.
Dawn.
Alot is 6:06. Dawn is 6:06. Correct. Alot is 6:06, and tzet, according to the Magen Avram, tzet today, according to us, for us, I'm saying according to the Yalkut Yosef, which is 13.5 seasonal minutes. So if you do 13.5 seasonal, I'm not going to get into that. But let's say 20 minutes, 20 minutes, about 20 minutes after Shkia. So today Shkiat Hama is 4:39.
No, 4:44. Okay.
4:39 it says today, January 2nd. So add 20 minutes of 4:39, 4:59, so 5 o'clock. Okay, so 5 o'clock. So 5 p.m. So 6:06 to 5 p.m. So do you want to go exact, or you want to just get rid of the 6 minutes and then we'll just do what we had already?
Again, the same thing, 11 hours.
So it'll be a little bit more than 11 hours, right? A little more 55 minutes. It'll be about 8:45, 8:47, around something where that would be Sov Zman Kriat Shema for the Magen Abraham, around 8:48. Let's say, just right 48. Now, let's see over here what they bring down as Sov Zman Kriat Shema. So he brings down two opinions from Magen Abraham. He brings down one opinion being Sov Zman Kriat Shema at 8:55 and 1903. Okay, because they're not calculating. We're calculating tzet dusk at 5 p.m. They're using the Ashkenazi tzet, which is going to be here at 5:25. So you see the difference. For us, we're about 10 minutes earlier than what's usually listed as Magen Avraham time for Kriyat Shema. For us, it's usually about 10 to 15 minutes earlier of what they're writing there. Okay, just know that. So for Sfaradim,
it says over there 10 minutes.
about 10 minutes before would be for us. Okay. Now, sunrise to sunset is always going to be the same, right? That's the Gra, the Baal Tanya. So sunrise to sunset. So take the sunrise was 7:19. Okay, and and sunset was 4:39. So 7:19 to 4:39. How many hours is that? To 7.
Almost 5:45.
How many hours is that?
No.
7 to 5 is 10 hours. Okay. So it's 7, because if you add the 19 to the 39, it's 7 to 5, right? So it's 10 hours. So it's very 10 hours. Let's just round it up. 10 hours. Now what do? You do 10 divided by 12.
Times 60.
Yeah, what did you get? How many minutes per hour?
50.
50 minutes. So now you're 50 minutes. But so now do 50 times 3.
150.
150. 150.
Or
2 hours and
2.5 hours. And I believe he sets it from sunrise now. So sunrise we said was 7:19. So add 2.5 hours to 7:19. So it'll get you to
almost 10 o'clock.
9:50.
9:50.
Whatever.
Let's see if we might have messed up with just a little bit. Here he says the the time was 9:39. We're off by 10 minutes. Something we did off by 10 minutes. Says the time here is 9:39. What did you, I did it at home. I also messed it up, and then I did it again and I fixed it. So I don't have my notes with me right now. But there, that's pretty much it. Okay.
So
Maybe I meant
7:20 plus 2.5 hours.
2.5.
We calculated. So
But 2.5.
but I think maybe it's instead of adding 20, it's supposed to minus the 39 from the 19.
10 minutes. What is not big deal? 10 minutes.
It's 9:49.
No, but it's a big difference. I want to get the right time.
It's 9:49.
No, I think. 1 second. 7:19 to 4:39. How much time is that?
7:92.
4:39. We put it as 10 hours, but it might be 9:50.
That's minus, right?
So 7:19.
5 plus 4 is 9. 9.
How what is
9:19.
it? How what is it?
7:19 to 4:39. How much time is that?
What, wait, what?
9:19 plus 39.
Yeah.
9:20.
Wait, say it again.
9:20 plus 40. Yeah, so
It's 10 hours?
The 2 minutes,
Say-
3 minutes less. 2
No,
minutes less.
7:19 plus 4 something.
Семи до 12 это 5.
It can't be 10 hours. In order to be hours, you got to be from 7:39 to 4:39.
No,
Or that'd be 11 hours.
I'm
11 something, получается.
No, it would be less. It would be 9:50.
More.
It's so late at night. Anyone on Zoom can do the calculation for us. 7:19 to 4:39. How many hours is that? Wait, so do it this way, guys. Let's do it this way.
74.
7:19 to 4:19 is how many
Oh,
hours?
it's 4:19.
7:19 to 4:19 is how many hours?
9 hours and 20 minutes.
9 hours and 20 minutes.
No, plus 39 minutes. Plus
Wait. 7:19 to 4:19 is how many hours? 9 hours?
9 hours.
Okay, 9 hours.
9 hours plus another hour.
Now, then you're going from
29
7:19. Then you're going from 4:19 to 4:39.
20 minutes.
It's 20 minutes. So how many minutes is 9:20, right? So 9:20. Okay. 9:20.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 9:20.
9:20, yes.
So now it's different than 10. So it might work out this time. I hope we're not off on the other side now. Okay. So 9:20. So 9 hours and 20 minutes. So how much is that?
9:20 divided by 60.
So how are you going to do this math now? Because it's not an equal hour.
Times
12. 12 hours.
Take 9 times, take 9 times
60, right? That gets
And
us
add
to
another-
360.
and add another 20 minutes.
No, I think
Do 9 times 60,
And then add another
and then add 20 minutes to that.
20
Should get you
minutes.
to something, right?
560.
And
560.
then divide it by 720.
46.6.
46.6.
Divided by 720.
Okay. What does that get
Did
to?
you divide by 720?
I lost the
560
Yeah.
divided by 720.
All right.
You guys got 46.6 minutes?
0.
Times that by 60. Yeah, 46.6. So the hour is 46.6. Okay, so now 46.6 times 3 gives you 140 minutes. So now do 2 hours and 20 minutes and add that to 719.
740, 940.
So 9:39. So now we did it right. This time we did it right. And that would be the time on the calendar. So again, for the Gra, it's very simple. You do, not very simple. It's simple in theory. I guess if we do it early in the morning, we'd figure it out better. A long day. So at 9:39 would be already the time Sovzman Kriat Shema according to the Gra. Now, since sunrise and sunset is always the same time, you can pick it up and figure out the Gra Shita of what 9:39, what it is. Okay. La halacha. Which time do we hold up? Which time do we go at? So he brings down page 257. On page 257, he brings down first from Rav Moshe Feinstein. He writes that the custom is in most of our provinces. He was writing this when we're still in Russia and Lithuania. The practice of yeshivot, and we recite until the end of 3 hours from sunrise, according to the position of the Gra and Rav Shmuel Zalman of Ladai. So they held at the later time. The yeshivot, Russia and Lithuania, they held at the later time of the Gra from sunrise to sunset, and then you add the 3 hours to that. He brings over here from Rav Mordechai Eliyahu. Rav Mordechai Eliyahu held that the custom of Yerushalayim is to follow the Magen Abraham's opinion, that you go from Alot to Tzet, which would be the earlier time. Okay? The Piskei Tshuvot, as well as the Yalkut Yosef, write as follows. I'll read from the Yalkut Yosef. He writes there, that he says you should go like the Magen Avraham and go from dawn to dusk to count the time. And he says, 72 minutes before sunrise. Now, but he says, for the brachot of Kriat Shema, shehem MRABANAN, since they're MRABANAN, you could consider, you're only allowed to say the brachot until 4 hours into the day. You can count those 4 hours from sunrise like the Gra. In order to count the hours for sunrise, for the brachot, you can count from sunrise, but for Shema, you should count from Alot. Okay? And then he writes over here, when it's needed, you could go like the Gra, like the later opinion, and because he says we can combine the opinion of those who hold it according to Torah law, the time of Kriat Shema continues beyond 3 hours. And also he writes over here, a Torah scholar who's busy with learning and he's learning late in the night. If he wakes up too early to daven, he's not going to be able to learn during the day, so he can go according to the Gra's opinion. He also writes that the shuls that pray late on Shabbat or the holidays in order to make it more happy for the people, they can wake up a little later. They also have what to rely on, and they can go according to the opinion of the Gra for this man Kriat Shema. Okay, so to sum up what we just did in this past section.
All we say right now is Brachot of Shema, right?
Of Shema itself.
How about Brachot Tefillin?
We didn't get into that. We'll get into that in the future. So what we got into right now was that the time to calculate l'halacha, the best time is to do like the Magen Avraham. Remember, so Sfaradim, the Magen Avraham's time would be a little bit earlier than ones that are usually printed on the calendars, just because our tzit, according to Yalkut Yosef, is that it's 13.5 seasonal minutes after Shkia, so it makes everything a little bit earlier because you have less time you're playing with. So around if you do 10 minutes before, you should hit it okay. If need be, you can go by the Gra's opinion and do it by later. If need be, the minyan or whatever is going on, you can go by the Vilna Gaon's opinion and to the latest opinion. And that opinion, the Vilna Gaon, is always the same because it's from sunrise to